Welcome into this Friday edition of CBS Sports HQ. I'm Jordan Giorgio. We begin in the NFL with the latest updates surrounding Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. As we know, he remains in concussion protocol. And earlier today, head coach Nick Sirianni provided a bit of an update on his quarterback status for this week in the NFL as they get set to face the Dallas Cowboys. Take a listen to Nick Sirianni talking to the media earlier today.
Nick, any update you can share with us on Jalen?
Yeah, he's still in the protocol. It's going to be tough for him to make it this week.
Is it as simple as if he's cleared prior to Sunday, he'll play, or does it reach a point where Kenny's gotten all the reps?
Again, not going to get too much into that. He's still in the protocol.
How has Kenny handled the reps this week?
Yeah, I think he's had a nice week of practice. He's done a nice job, and we've had some good practices and walkthroughs this week.
What's it mean to have the full week with him getting those first team reps as far as versus last week when he's got to come in cold?
Yeah, I think anytime you get to work, anytime you get to work our plays against the defense that you're playing against with the guys that you're going to be going with, that helps you. And so, that's our philosophy in practice. Everyone's philosophy in practice, and it was like I said, it was a good week of practice.
All right, for more on this, let's go ahead and say hello to John Breech and Tyler Sullivan. Gentlemen, it is great to see you. So we just heard from head coach Nick Sirianni speaking to the media on Jalen Hurts' status. He remains in concussion protocol, and they are now preparing to start Kenny Pickett this upcoming weekend against the Cowboys. But guys, it sounds like the door isn't closed. It's certainly open, but by just how much? Tyler, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, I would say slim. Obviously with concussions, you have to be super cautious because you don't want to run the risk of further injury. And then you're talking about a Philadelphia Eagles team going into the playoffs with Kenny Pickett. You're far more comfortable that being week 17, week 18 possibly, than certainly the wild card round, divisional round, etc. So, it's obviously not ideal for this to happen. But if it was going to happen and he's going to miss time, I would be cautious as I possibly can over these next couple of weeks with Jalen Hurts. And Kenny Pickett started in this league before, 14-10 as a starter with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Didn't light the world on fire, obviously moved off of him, but still a serviceable backup that can come in a pinch and start for you. And to me, this speaks more to what's going to be a big couple of weeks for Saquon Barkley, who is eyeing that single season rushing yard record. I think he needs like 268 yards or something like that to beat Eric Dickerson's record. He's going up against the Dallas Cowboys team, and then possibly in week 17 or week 18, a New York Giants team, two bottom 5 rushing defenses in the NFL. This is Saquon Barkley's time to prove he's the offensive player of the year.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get more on that in just a minute. I can't wait to talk to John specifically about the article he just wrote on CBS Sports about that. But John, how confident are you as this team is now preparing for Kenny Pickett to take over this upcoming weekend against the Cowboys? How confident are you that Kenny Pickett can win against the Cowboys and ultimately lead this team to win at the division?
Jordan, I am not confident in Kenny Pickett, but I am confident in the rest of the Eagles roster. As Tyler just said, you have Saquon Barkley. If you have to, you give him the ball 40 times, you let Kenny Pickett throw it 10 times, and hope he completes 60% of those passes. And you look at this Eagles defense, it's been one of the best in the NFL. Throughout the entire season. It was really the backbone of the team during their 10-game winning streak. So this team is built so that they can win if their quarterback struggles or if their backup quarterback is forced to play. So it really is going to be the Saquon Barkley show on offense. And you know what? Kenny Pickett does have plenty of experience, as Tyler alluded to. We saw him in the Commanders game. He made a couple big-time throws. He had a touchdown pass there, so he can make throws when he has to. But I think if you're the Eagles, you're thinking, let's try and win this with Saquon Barkley and our defense. And if they win in week 17 and clinch the NFC East, then Nick Sirianni can think about resting starters in week 18. Jalen Hurts wouldn't even have to play because you already have the division wrapped up. So the Eagles can certainly win with Kenny Pickett just because Saquon Barkley and the defense are so good.
All right, let's get into Saquon Barkley. And I want to talk about this article, John, that you just wrote on CBS Sports regarding a recent interview that Eric Dickerson did. He said that he doesn't want Saquon Barkley to break his most rushing yards in a season record, saying, quote, you see it here, do I want him to break it? Absolutely not. I don't think he'll break it, but if he breaks it, he breaks it. end quote. John, just walk us through this. What was your initial reaction after watching that interview?
Well, I think with NFL players, they kind of fall in two camps when it comes to saying their record's broken. It is, hey, records are made to be broken. I'm okay with it. They're all going to go down at some point. Or you go there Dickerson route and just you tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. And you say, I do not want this person to break my record. And you know what? This is one of the most hollowed records in NFL history. I think most people know that Eric Dickerson has held the single-season rushing record for 30 years. So I'm actually glad that he came out and was totally honest about this and said, I would like this record to stand. And, you know, the way things are standing right now, I think Eric Dickerson has a chance to keep this record for another year just because you look at what Saquon Barkley is facing. Now that Kenny Pickett is probably starting on Sunday, there's a good chance that he is going to see a Cowboys defense that is going to stack that box and do everything they can to stop Saquon Barkley. And if you hold him to, say, 75 yards or something under that, well, then he needs nearly 200 yards in Week 18. And at that point, I'm not sure if you really want to push it when you have a playoff game the following week. You want Saquon Barkley carrying it 35 times for 200 yards in a meaningless Week 18 game. But yeah, with Eric Dickerson, very interesting to hear him say that, but good for him for being honest, and because you don't see that very often anymore.
We definitely respect it. You know, we got the pre-record-breaking interview. I just need the post because I'm on the edge of my seat of what he has to say after that. All right, let's get to the NFC North here, where Week 17, this division can make history, you guys, becoming the first division with 2 14-win teams after this week. But who kind of comes out on top when it's all said and done, Tyler?
Yeah, I still think it's going to be the Detroit Lions. Now, they have a little bit of an easier path. Of course, these two teams play each other in Week 18. That game in Detroit, so it gives the Lions the edge there. But they're also playing a San Francisco 49ers team that's been banged up, snake-bitten all season. It just feels like they, not necessarily going to just pack it in, but certainly an easier opponent to play in Week 18 than, say, the Minnesota Vikings, who have to play the Green Bay Packers, who shouldn't be overlooked. As much as we talk about these two teams, the Vikings and the Lions, in the NFC North as the two powerhouses duking it out for the division title, the Green Bay Packers are still lurking around, not for the division, but once they get into this postseason, boy, they are going to be a tough out in my opinion. They're playing well defensively. They can run the ball. Obviously, Jordan Love has the capabilities through the air as well. So that's a team that I don't think we should overlook in Week 17, because I think they're going to want to send a message to Minnesota, say, hey, we are around. We're going to see you potentially in the postseason, so don't count us out quite yet. And for the Detroit Lions and the Vikings, again, tremendous seasons. But I also think that as much as we look at the division race, the Coach of the Year race is also a part of this as well. Dan Campbell and also Kevin O'Connell, he's the favorite right now. But if Dan Campbell and the Lions come in over these next couple of weeks and put the flag in the ground on the NFC North, we could see Dan Campbell win the whole thing.
Yeah, and you know what, Tyler? It's funny. You left out Matt LaFleur. I mean, you could even throw him in the conversation. He lost the starting quarterback for a couple games this season, and the Packers didn't blink. They rolled with Malik Willis and did really well. But as for who is going to win this division, I do absolutely agree with you, Sully. I think that it is the Detroit Lions, and it's really for two reasons. The Vikings just have such a brutal schedule over the next 2 weeks. They have to play the Packers on Sunday. And even if they win that game, you have to turn around and travel to Detroit and play the Lions on their home turf. So that is not easy. And then if the Vikings lose, the Lions get to go into their Monday night game. They'll already know what has happened, what they need to do. They'll be able to play the 49ers knowing that the #1 seed is on the line. And then it becomes like a playoff game, because if you clinch it Monday night, now you can rest your guys in Week 18. So I do think the Lions end up winning this, but obviously that Vikings-Packers game is a huge one to watch on Sunday, because if the Vikings win, do the Lions rest their starters on Monday night? I know Dan Campbell said they wouldn't, but I think you'd be a little crazy to play every starter, because then they have to play the Vikings on a short week, which seems a little crazy, but Dan Campbell's crazy, so who knows?
This is so true. I'm so glad that you guys both brought up the Coach of the Year race, because it's interesting, but not as interesting as this MVP race, because I want to talk about it. It's been a point of contention ever since Lamar Jackson was able to break some more records this past week. Right now, as we know, Josh Allen is the current favorite to run away with the MVP. But when you look at the numbers, like just blind looking at the numbers, like this is Lamar Jackson's title, right? Like, but you can't just win the MVP on numbers. We know that. But Tyler, I want to come to you first on why Josh Allen is our league MVP, because I know you're in favor of him.
Right, and you're correct to point out. You look at the numbers, it is totally one-sided for Lamar Jackson. He has absolutely dominated this season from a statistical standpoint, and even from the eye test. I mean, any test that you want to look at with Lamar Jackson, sure, he's clearly a worthy MVP, and a lot closer than the odds suggest. You look at the odds this season, it's gotten a lot closer over these last few weeks here, but it was pretty wide in favor of Josh Allen. But overall, I do still believe that he is the NFL MVP this year because he's doing more with less. That's really what it comes down to for me. We look at the Ravens this offseason, their big acquisition, bringing in Derrick Henry. The big thing for the Buffalo Bills was that they lost Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen's still making it work with Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, even though he's been banged up at times. They do bring in Amari Cooper, but he hasn't had the impact that we all thought he was going to have upon arrival. James Cook out of the backfield is a good running back, but he's no Derrick Henry. And so I just look at what Josh Allen has been able to do with the Buffalo Bills that is currently in place, and I say I don't know what other quarterbacks would be able to have them not only at one point vying for the #1 seed, handing the Kansas City Chiefs their only loss of the season, but now look pretty locked into the #2 seed in the AFC. Overall, I just think that's overly impressive and worthy of an MVP.
Doing more with less. It's a good argument, but John, make the case for Lamar here.
Well, I think Tyler made the case by saying Lamar Jackson passes the eye test. When you look at all the numbers, he's the guy. I mean, you really can't argue with what these guys have done this season, with what Lamar Jackson has done this season. He has more touchdown passes. He has fewer interceptions, more passing yards per game. He has the highest QB rating in the NFL. He is having the best season that Lamar Jackson has ever had, and he is a 2-time MVP. So that really tells you how well he has been playing. And really, I think the only reason Lamar Jackson is not the front runner right now is because his kicker can't make field goals. I mean, if you go back to earlier this season, Justin Tucker has cost his team at least 3 games. If they were 13-2 right now, 14-2 going into week 18, I don't think this would be even a conversation. And so what Lamar Jackson has done, yes, he has Derrick Henry in the backfield, but guess what else he's done? He's improved on his accuracy. He's got the highest completion percentage of his career, highest yards per attempt. So he's become a much better passer. And so just based on that eye test, what I've seen from Lamar Jackson, I don't want to take anything away from Josh Allen, but the Bills aren't going to get the #1 seed. They won a bad division, and Lamar Jackson's about to win one of the tougher divisions in the NFL because of his fantastic season. So I am voting for Lamar Jackson. Sorry, Sully.
We will leave it there, gentlemen. Thanks so much. Don't go anywhere, though. More from you in a moment when we return here on CBS Sports HQ.